welcome everyone as you guys are kind of getting on to learn more about interest rates and budgeting. We're here for our second week with another great guest speaker here to share with us knowledge about that. And we will be here for the next coming Tuesdays up until the end of September, continue to share with you education about Wampum talks and finances for tribal communities. Our guest speaker today, or our moderator for today, her name is Beth Jacobs. We're so excited that she has agreed to moderate our event. She is a senior materials management coordinator with Alchemy Pharmaceuticals. She's a mother of a gorgeous and headstrong, determined daughter and a handsome, humble, kind-hearted son. She's also the former Miss Waccamaw Siouan and attended East Columbus High School and Southeastern Community College. She serves on the parent committee for Title IX Indian Education Program, NCNAO Advisor Committee, Waccamaw Siouan Drum Circle Advisor, Waccamaw Siouan Powwow Committee. She's busy. And recently served my community, or her community, our community, on the nominations board for our tribal elections. Her favorite subject in school was band, mine as well. She also learned a majority in her early onset diversity classes skills in this class. A managerial position she held at her prior careers at EI DuPont, Cape Fear site in Leland, and helped her hone in her additional skills. She prides herself in being able to see different points of view while voicing her own, working together to accomplish our common goals. Please help me in welcoming Ms. Beth Jacobs.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We got you.
That's good. I will be introducing Miss Monica today, and she will be our expert on interest rates and budgeting. I'm trying to get back to the home screen where I can see all of you guys. Ashley, give me some technical.
Okay, we're still here. We'll go ahead and let Monica introduce herself while we're getting technology worked out.
Give me some technical tips on how to get back there, because when I try, it just keeps going back to my home screen.
Okay, you trying to set your
You
video?
understand what I'm saying? Like I'm on my video, but I'm on like the video filters or something or another, and it won't let me go back to. There we go. Never mind.
You got it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead, Monica.
Hey guys, nice to see you again this week. My name is Monica Hughes, and I am from the St. James community. I'm currently living in Leland, and I am working as a financial ops coordinator with PPD. I enjoy going outdoors, spending time with my son, husband, and dog. And I'll turn it back over to Ms. Beth.
Okay. We're going to start it off with a few questions. If you could just start off by telling us, what is an interest rate?
So interest, we're going to be covering interest rates are the rate that you're going to pay for the cost of borrowing money. And if it's for savings, then that is what you earn on your savings. Interest is the cost for borrowing money, interest rates.
Okay, so that answered my second question as to what are interest rates used for. Interest rates are used for borrowing money is basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so it's like the cost of borrowing money.
Okay. My next question was, what type of scenarios would my interest rates be a factor, or your interest rate be a factor? So it would be from like mortgage rates to car payments to anything where you borrow money is where your interest rate is going to be a factor.
Right. So you would have an interest rate on mortgages, personal loans, credit cards, auto loans.
Who controls the baseline interest rate? Like, who decides this is what a good interest rate is, and this is what it is, and this is what where you're getting in the bad territory with interest rates.
Yeah.
I mean, where does that come from?
Interest rates are set, the short-term interest rates are typically determined by the Fed. And I think we've had like maybe 3 rate hikes this year. Banks determine their own interest rates from that. They can charge as much over as they want to. They're going to determine that based on competitors. So if BB&T over here is charging 5% for a 30-year mortgage, then of course First Citizens isn't going to charge 10%. So they're going to try to stay around the same. Your credit score is going to play a role in what the interest score is going to be. The loan terms are going to play a role. So if you have a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage, or a 5-year car loan versus 7-year, that's going to change the rate on it. How much you're putting down, the larger down payment is going to make the interest rate go down. So if you're buying a home and you have a 5% down payment versus say 25%, of course, the person with the 25% down payment is going to have a lower interest rate. And those are just a few of the factors that affect interest rates.
What's the best way to keep your interest rate as low as possible?
Yeah, so
right.
I would say to check around, like typically credit unions are going to charge lower rates than banks because they're not for profit. As Cheyenne discussed last week, the credit score is really important. So if you have a high credit score, you're typically going to see the lower interest rates.
And you answered my question on how do credit scores and interest rates affect each other. And basically, if the better your credit score is, the lower your interest rate.
Yeah, pretty much.
We sailed through my questions. Let me get in the chat and see if anybody's. I have some questions about budgeting, like what are the best budgeting apps and how do you start a budget from scratch?
Yeah,
like for the new person, just the teenager or whatever that's just getting out there and they're just trying to save. They don't have any savings experience or have anything saved up yet. How do they go about creating that budget to save?
Yeah, so we're going to cover that next. I'm going to go ahead to the next slide here and read the financial disclaimer for everyone first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine. All right. So this is the financial disclaimer. Personal finance, as the name applies, is highly individualistic personal matter. The information provided in this presentation is generally educational information provided to illustrate certain financial ideas and concepts. This information does not take into account your personal situation, and it should not be considered personal financial or investment advice. In reviewing this information, you should consider whether this information presented is appropriate for your particular needs. And when appropriate, you may wish to seek advice from a financial advisor or professional to determine what is best for your individual financial circumstances. Waccamaw Siouan STEM Studio does not make any guarantee or other promise as to the results that may be attained from using the content of this presentation. And so now we'll go ahead and get into the presentation on interest. Okay, so interest is the price you pay to borrow money or the cost you charge to lend money. Interest is most often reflected as an annual percentage of the amount of a loan. This percentage is known as the interest rate on the loan. Simple interest is calculated by using only the principal balance of the loan each period. With compound interest, the interest per period is based on the principal balance plus any outstanding interest already accrued. Simple interest works in your favor when you borrow money, while compound interest is best for you as an investor. As a borrower, simple interest is better because you're not paying interest on interest. It's easier to repay debts with simple interest. Simple interest is rarely paid to investors. And here we have a simple explanation of the differences between simple interest and compound interest. So if you invested $200 with a rate of 3% for 2 years, with simple interest, you would have $12 in interest over that period. Whereas with compound interest, you would have $12.18. And that doesn't seem like a lot in this example because it's such a small amount of money and it's only 2 years, but over time, as that grows and you invest more, it really makes a big difference. Here's an explanation of how the growth is for compound interest. It is exponential, and for simple interest, it is linear. And an example of this, if you open a Roth IRA with an initial deposit of $600 and you were to add $50 per month, assuming an annual interest rate of 10%, after a 50-year period of time, you would have a balance of $953,000 approximately. Out of that $953,000, $922,000 is from interest alone. So your total investment is only $31,000 spread over 50 years, which is about the same as a new car would cost. Power of compound interest. This shows how much you would have if you started investing $250 a month at different ages. And this here assumes an 8% average annual return on investment. So if you started at 25 years old, you would have about $878,000. Start at 35, you're going to have about $375,000. But if you wait to start at 45 years old, you're only going to have about $148,000 when you retire. So time is the simplest and most reliable tool we have for building wealth. So you probably know that interest rates affect your monthly mortgage payments, but most of us aren't aware of just how big an impact they actually have on a home loan. Each 1% change in an interest rate equals to roughly a 10% change in buying power. So this means that you can qualify for a much more expensive home when rates are lower. And as you'll see in this chart, the interest rate on a loan that is 3%, you're going to be paying about $1,600 a month. Now, if it goes to 7%, it's going to increase to about $2,600. So you're looking at $1,000 more a month just from a 4% increase in the rate. Okay, now we're going to talk a little more about student loans. So we've got two different types of loans. We have subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized interest loan means the government pays the interest on the loan while you're in school or during deferment. Deferment is a grace period from federal student loan payments granted for certain situations. I think student loans are still in deferment now, I believe until the end of the year. This means the balance of the loan does not increase during this time period. Once you're out of school or the deferment period ends, you will be responsible for paying the interest on the loan. An unsubsidized federal student loan means the interest starts accruing from the day the loan is first disbursed. Although you may not be required to make payments on the loan while you're in school, you will end up with a loan balance higher than you initially borrowed. Unlike other forms of debt, such as credit cards and mortgages, direct student loans are daily interest loans, And on daily interest loans, the interest is accruing, adding up every day. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about the Fed. And as I said earlier, the Fed, they determine the interest rate short term. The Fed is the central bank of the US. It's known as the Fed. And your job security, your portfolio, your debts, and the direction of the economy are all subject to the Fed's influence. As the price of money changes, it ripples out in a lot of different directions. It impacts the health of the job market, the amount of money that's flowing in the economy, and the prices of assets at the household level. When interest rates are higher, the availability of money in the financial system also tends to shrink. Another factor making it more expensive to borrow. The Federal Open Market Committee commits monetary policy by setting the target range for its policy rate, which is known as the federal funds rate. So the interest rate that banks charge each other for lending or borrowing reserves balances overnight is the federal funds rate. It's a key short-term interest rate that influences other interest rates in the economy. Because banks can always deposit their money at the Fed and earn the IORB rate, banks see the IORB rate as a reservation rate. So this means that they are not going to be willing to lend their money for less than the IORB rate. And if banks see the difference between the IORB rate and the federal funds rate, then they're going to be looking to profit from that difference. And what influences your interest rate? As we just discussed, the federal funds rate is a big part of what influences interest rates. Credit score is going to influence it. The terms of the loan amount, and competitor rates all have a big influence on interest rate. Okay, now we're going to talk about budgeting. Budgeting can help you gain a feeling of control over your money and better achieve your financial goals. It allows you to prioritize your spending, track how you are doing, and realize when you need to make changes. A budget puts a solid plan into place that is easy to follow and gives you the chance to plan and prepare for the future. The foundation of an effective budget is your net income. That is your take-home pay. You get this by taking your total wages or salary and subtracting any deductions for taxes and employer-provided programs. Once you know how much money you have coming in, the next step is to figure out where it's going. Tracking and categorizing your expenses can help you to determine what you are spending the most money on and where it might be easiest to save. Fixed expenses are the same each month. Some examples of this could include a mortgage, vehicle payment, student loans. Variable expenses fluctuate, and some examples of this include utilities, gas, groceries, and household items. You can get a better picture of what these expenses are by comparing your statements over a 3-month time period. So when you're budgeting, you want to always take care of the 4 walls first, which include food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. And here we have the traditional budgeting steps. First, you're going to list your monthly income, list your fixed expenses, your variable expenses. You can consider the model budget when budgeting. You want to budget for wants, and you want to trim your expenses. This is a popular form of budgeting. It's known as the 50-30-20 rule. With this, you're going to limit 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and you want to save or invest at least 20% of your income. And here it breaks down what is considered a need, what's considered a want, and then savings. This is a popular form of budgeting also. It's known as the $0 budgeting. And it does not mean that you end the month with no money. It just means that you're giving every dollar a job. So with this form, you're going to assign every dollar a purpose before the month begins. And remember, you need to review and adjust your budget every month. This is where everything comes together, what you're actually spending versus what you want to spend. Use the variable and fixed expenses you compiled to get a sense of what you'll spend in the coming months. Then compare that to your net income and priorities. Consider setting specific and realistic spending limits for each category of expenses. Put a small amount of money aside for unexpected expenses throughout the month. And you're going to label this as your miscellaneous category in your budget. That way, when something comes up, you can cover it without taking away from money you have already put away for something else. Keep track of expenses that frequently end up in this category. Eventually, you might want to consider creating a separate permanent spot in your budget for them. And here's just a sample $0 budget. This is the expected versus the actual, and it breaks down their income, expenses, and at the end of it, it equals 0. Here are some popular budgeting tools. You need a budget, so it does cost to use this one. Mint is free. Honeydew is a free option. Pocket Guard has cost and free options. Every Dollar has cost and free options. And Good Budget is a good free resource to use as well. And here's some additional resources if you want to learn more about interest rates, how interest works, and budgeting. And some final thoughts for this evening. I just wanted to let everyone know some ways to cut monthly expenses include getting rid of subscriptions. I know a lot of us have unnecessary subscriptions. We've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, gym memberships, cable. So cutting some of those out can help save a lot of money. You can shop around for lower rates on things such as your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, life insurance. Whenever you get a raise at work, don't increase your spending. So if you keep leaving the same, then you'll be able to save more. When you're investing or saving, if you set that up automatic, after about 2 or 3 months, you tend to just forget about it and it becomes your normal way of living on less. And also a good resource for anyone struggling to get out of debt is Financial Peace University. And you can find a lot of free resources on YouTube also. And some books I would recommend is The Simple Path to Wealth, Total Money Makeover, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's all I have for this evening. So I'll turn it back over to Ms. Beth for any further questions.
We don't have any questions in the chat, Beth. I
No
guess.
questions in the chat.
No, I guess you guys covered everything. Maybe that's it's good.
I had a lot of questions.
Go ahead. Get your questions.
I
Prime
went through my
time.
questions. We already went through all of my questions in the beginning. I really didn't have any more questions other than she's answered everything that I had.
All right. Awesome. Monica, any last things you want to share with anyone before we sign off?
No, I just hope you guys learned something tonight. I hope y'all can create a budget and put it into use the next few months.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a really good challenge for everybody is to create a budget.
Yeah, it's hard, but after a few months, you get used to it.
I hear a challenge happening.
Yes.
But it is good to have a budget. I mean, I've had one for years. I've had a budget, and Sometimes I'm stricter on the budget and sometimes I'm not,
Yeah.
I gotta get back on it, but yeah.
I had to find a bank that didn't offer a card or didn't offer a debit card or any type of card where I could withdraw it from to send my savings to. That was the
Oh.
only way
Mhm.
that I could stick to that budget, so I can't access that money any type of way.
Well, you got to do what makes sense for you, because I'm telling you, everybody's just completely different. And, I
Yeah.
have to do some of the same stuff, and just finding out what works for you is,
Right.
the best thing. But yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Monica, for going over everything and about budgeting and interest. And hopefully everyone kind of walked away today with a little bit more information about how to do that and some resources. So, which is us meeting our intent. And thanks, Beth, for being our moderator. And this will be up on YouTube later tonight and in our series there. And then tune in next week on Tuesday, which we will be talking about with Daniel Nolan. We'll be discussing about retirement. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And the week after will be about Monica, help me out here.
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
That's it. Life insurance.
I saw a Facebook post earlier that said something about how they wish that the new retirement age was 45. And I was like, me too, if only my 401k had enough in it.
If my 401k can support it, 45.
Right.
Nice. I like it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all. I won't keep you on much longer. I appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in.